Hey everyone, welcome to the ATP project. You're with your hosts Steve and Nick.
Hey, how are you, Nick?
Hey Steve, I'm good. How are you?
It's Christmas time.
It is nearly Christmas.
It's the most wonderful time.
I knew he was going to break into song.
No, we won't break into song because you know what happens at Christmas time?
We eat a lot.
We eat a lot and get fat.
Yeah.
I know. So
some of us don't.
This podcast's a bit of a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but a little bit serious too.
And a little bit left of centre than what we maybe generally talk about.
Exactly. This is a bit out there. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Well, I mean, and this is just a full disclosure. I'm not too sure, Steve. This one's all you. So this is all about lasers for fat loss.
I know. Lasers, you think of 1997 and Star Wars and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But lasers are used for fat loss.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking, you're going to zap it and melt the fat away. And the answer to that is depending on the wavelength, but one of the wavelengths does actually melt fat.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that freaky?
It is
And
freaky.
you might think, oh, my God, it's going to do damage. No, it's very low side effects.
Yeah, you've got all the cool things. I mean, I haven't looked at any of these papers.
I know. I've kept them secret.
I actually don't know much about this, and I don't know what you can talk about. So it's going to be really kind of interesting to me to hear these, hear what this is all about.
I have studies here on it. But the studies on these are very, very comprehensive. There's loads of them. I mean, look at them all.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So there's information in here.
Yeah.
Now, I know you wanted to ask me some questions.
Yeah.
So do you want to fire away and I'll answer them as we go.
All right. So my first question I'm going to ask you, Stevie.
Yep.
So this is all for fat loss. These lasers are amazing, and they do an amazing job. Because you're going to tell us how great they can be.
I've got studies. I'm going to try and convince, because people are going, why don't you? Everyone's going to say, why don't you just diet and exercise? Of course you're going to diet and exercise.
Yeah.
But what if you got a bit left? Oh, I shouldn't use hands like that. What's the bit that's on your? Not your bum, your gut.
Maybe put your hands away, Steve.
Because I had my hands in a bad position.
Under the table.
Yeah.
Actually, not under the table.
Oh, geez, Nick. Now you're in trouble. We get emails about that.
I don't know what you two minds are, but I'm right up here.
Right, okay.
So, all right. So what you're saying, Steve, is that we shouldn't just stop exercising and eating healthy, and this isn't going to be revolutionary. That's just going to change our lives, and we're going to stop doing all the good, healthy stuff.
It's not going to do that, but it's going to help.
Okay.
So it's sort of like, it's better than you. I think it's going to be more impressed than you think.
All right. So explain to me what a laser is first up, Steve.
We've got lights above us now. For those who are video understand, they're white lights, right? Now, white light is made up of all the colours of the rainbow. Have you ever seen a rainbow? Sure you have. Yeah. All that is when light goes through a bit of water and it bends light. And it shows you the 7 main colours of the rainbow, okay?
What about if you get a double rainbow, Steve?
Oh, yeah, well, that means you've got 2 layers of rain.
2 pots of gold?
Yeah, 2 pots of gold at the end of the rainbow, that's exactly. And did you know that gold is one of the only colours that's not in the rainbow?
Is that right?
Yeah, did you know
Yellow is, but not gold.
Not gold. Silver's another one.
That's true too.
Brass. So there's a few.
The heavy metals.
So if you ever ask you what colours aren't in the rainbow,
there you go.
So there you go. So a bit interesting. But yeah, so white light is made up of all these things, and Sir Isaac Newton and all these boffins back in the early days, Albert Einstein, studied light intensely. And white light is made up of all the colours. Now this is reflecting a pink. I'm holding up a pink thing. So that's reflecting a wavelength of light. Now a laser is simply a light that just gives off one wavelength of light. Okay, so what it does is it says, instead of shining a torch on you, it shines one wavelength of light on you. Now, you might be able to see that, or you might not be able to see that light.
Because everyone thinks lasers is that red laser beam, don't they?
Well, funny enough, we're talking in the red spectrum.
Oh, there you go.
But if you go beyond red and you can't see it with the eyes, it's called infrared. Okay? And if you go beyond the other end, the violet end, it's ultraviolet. So that's where these come from. Now, anything that's got a shorter wavelength, like down the violet end, can be dangerous for you. So
like
ultraviolet light. Yeah. But it doesn't penetrate very deep. So have you heard of UVA and UVB?
Yeah.
UVA is a shorter wavelength of light. It's less dangerous because it doesn't extend as deep.
Yeah.
And UVB is a little bit longer wavelength, extends a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about lasers that go to the other end, that if you put them on the skin, can penetrate the skin very deep into the subcutaneous fat.
Wow, there you
So
go.
the longer the wavelength, the more penetration you have.
Yeah.
So like If you're an amateur radio nerd like me, or if you're driving in the car and you got AM, FM radio, AM still around.
Who listens to AM, FM?
I
Who
do.
listens to the radio anymore?
You listen to the radio. I listen to AM radio.
That doesn't surprise me that you do, Steve.
When we go out bush and all that, there's no FM because AM extends a lot further because it's a longer wavelength, right? It's a way longer wavelength. It's about 180 metres, the wavelength, so very long. FM has got a shorter wavelength of about 1.5 metres or something, so it's very short, 2 metres, that sort of thing. So the longer the wavelength, the more it penetrates. So what's that got to do with light? That if you've got lasers that can penetrate the skin, go beyond the skin and get into the fat layer, an effect can occur. Now, what's that effect is a very interesting one, but we'll get to that. But it does something in there. And there's things called resonant frequencies, which means that if you pick the right frequency of that particular thing, it has an effect on that thing. So it's like an E string of a guitar, the top one at boom dB, and that's its resonant frequency of that material. And of course, you can play guitar from that. Yeah. So resonant frequencies are very interesting, but I think the really cool thing about this is that if you can get the resonant frequency of fat, then it has an effect on fat. And that's what certain wavelengths of lasers do, and it's a particular number.
Yeah.
The different wavelengths.
What's the number, Steve? What number? We all want the number. No.
So there's lots of numbers, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so you've got to explain to me how this works, Steve.
Sure.
Because I'm still just over here.
All right. Now, how it doesn't work is if you shoot a laser at something like on Star Wars, when you see it, the thing would just, disintegrate and go into thing. Yeah. Fat doesn't do that.
Or if you've got your lightsaber, it just slice you in half.
Slice you in half, yeah. And it vaporizes things. Lasers don't vaporize things. What they do is they change the matter. You can't create or destroy matter. Okay, it can only be converted. Yeah. Now, what are certain wavelengths of light do? And I'll pick one up at 530 nanometers. Right?
Yep.
It's a red light, red laser light. There's a study here published that's called the fat liquefaction effect of low laser energy on adipose tissue. It does sound great because I'm going to show you a picture of a fat cell. Yeah. There they are under a scanning electron microscope. Okay, looks like fat cells.
They're all full of fat.
Looks like a bunch of grapes. Now, what if you expose that to a 532 nanometer wavelength of light? We turn it over. Oh. You see what happens to them? So you can see the bits.
It melts them.
It melts them and it comes out of the fat cells. So it liberates the fat into the circulatory system.
Yeah.
So getting access to that fat, the grape fat, is very difficult. You have to, do all sorts of things. But imagine doing that to it right before you exercise.
Wow. So that's my question with all this.
Yeah.
You can do all this, but you still have to then burn that fat off. So you still have to go out, you still have to do all your exercise, all of that sort of thing. So you can't just sit back, do this on the couch and expect it to
Absolutely not. This will not change. It'll only mobilise the fat.
Yeah.
But this is what you do. What they encourage you to do at these treatments, and these treatments are everywhere, all over the Gold Coast and Sydney and Brisbane. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Are they? So how long have they been around for, Steve?
About 2002.
Is that right?
So just over 20 years.
Wow.
That the research has shown this.
Yeah.
And so the $64,000 question is which wavelength of light because you can make lasers anything. The longer the wavelength of light, like 532, it's like a red light. They're pretty cheap.
Okay.
So what they do is this. Yeah. And they mobilise the fat cells.
Okay.
So it depends on what laser you're doing. And so when you get the fat cells into the bloodstream, those bits of fat that you've got that everyone grabs hold of and it's like your love handles or your thighs or your saddlebags. What's the politically correct?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Love handles. I don't know.
Love handles, whatever, bits and pieces. Like you and I are like gods. We've got bodies that are tremendous Adonises, so we don't have to worry about this. No, I mean, I've got a bit of fat around my waist, and it's like I exercise a lot. I went to the gym this morning, and I eat really well, but it just sits there.
Yeah, and
it's like it doesn't move. And you really, look. I've seen photos of you where you've had to work extraordinarily hard to get that off.
Yeah, really hard. Yeah.
Really hard, really strict diet. Great.
But competing photos, people, of me. It's just
that's right. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. Well,
they're the photos.
when you used to compete in body sculpting.
Yeah, that's it. Just wanted to reiterate that.
Exactly. There weren't any other nefarious texts sent on a Saturday night.
No.
Oh, gee whiz. Oh, geez, that would be awkward, wouldn't it? So but you work extraordinarily hard. You see a lot of body. And most people can't or won't do that. They just won't. They're happy to do that. You got about a third of people exercise at a good intensity in Australia, a third moderate and a third not. That's how the stats work. So we're targeting the people that are exercising.
Yes.
So you can't just sit under this laser put it in the ceiling. And I think our videographer said, why don't you just put it in all the lights? And
Did you say that?
No, you did say that.
He always comes up with good ideas.
Which is kind of like, oh, yeah, that's right. But the top of my head would be very bald then and very, very lean. And my ass would be still fat. And, it'll be, But anyway, so as you can see the photo, so this was the first paper where they figured out how it all worked. So once you mobilise the fat, the thing is what you've got to do is not eat and then exercise. So most people are encouraged when they go to one of these treatments at a shopping centre, and they're everywhere. They're not. This is not a magic, impossible to get thing. You can actually, get this to be in a shopping centre. You go straight from the shopping centre straight to the gym, pool, whatever, and burned off walk.
Yeah.
About 30 minutes.
Okay, so that's the other thing, about 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes. Do you know when the first laser thing was actually tried on someone? It was 1921.
Really?
An advanced 21 inception where Charles Danger of France attempted to remove subcutaneous fat from a dancer's calves using a uterine curette.
Who's going to be the person to put their hand up to be the first guinea pig for the laser therapy? You'd have to wonder.
In these studies where they sort of go, how did it work out? The results were less than acceptable.
Oh no!
So what's that code
was
for?
Was the subject still dancing, or was that career over?
So pretty tragic. But you got to remember what we're comparing this to. So this is just little bits of fat, and we've got to mobilise it. The other option, and the most common option, is liposuction.
Yeah, we all know that that's not probably the best option, because there can be some side effects, unfavourable side effects from liposuction.
Look, and I get the temptation. You've got a jar there, it's empty, it's sitting beside the bed, and then all of a sudden your fat ass is in that jar, or your gut, or your tuck shop arms or whatever, and so it's gone. It's physically out of your body in there, so it's gone, and it's like that. Yes, it's got horrendous side effects, cost $10,000, whatever it is. So it's not really an option for that. Maybe 1% of the population.
Yeah.
But again, we're trying to get to that 30 to 40% of the population who exercise already, eat well already, and just want to tone up a little bit or have this little, and they usually grab it. When I was in practice, they go, this bit here or this bit here. And this is what it's for.
And this is interesting because, from a fitness background, we always just say you can't spot reduce, Steve.
Yes.
So the lasers, tell me, can you spot reduce at the lasers?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's for.
So this is going to be great for those people who do just have a small amount of, I can't budget, like with your stomach fat, Steve, which sounds so weird to say.
My fat below the table.
Steve doesn't have a lot of fat on his body.
I don't, but there's a little bit, and it's like, would I like it gone? Sure. Would I pay $7,000 for lipo or 10? No. Would I get a laser treatment for $50 or $100? Maybe,
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good time to look at what different types of lasers and
so what
the research says. And if you're listening to us, listen to the thumb. They're all the papers that I've got, and I've only got the abstracts on them. So
you're going to tell us what the best type of laser is, Steve?
The best one, and I'm going to put you out of your misery. The best laser that is most researched is the 1060 nanometer laser. So 1,060 nanometers of wavelength of light.
You're going to write that down.
Yeah. So just remember it. And this is the one that's most researched. And what it is, it's called a hyperthermic laser at that thing. So have you heard of the term infrared sauna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Used in infrared sauna.
Right. Well, all that is getting an infrared sauna, concentrating it down to a very small point and pointing it at your fat bit and melting it.
There you go.
Hyperthermic. It heats it up.
Yep.
Now, if you've ever heated up butter and all that sort of stuff, it melts. Butter is a saturated fat. Our gut is a saturated fat. You can physically melt it with this.
Wow.
So if the lasers are put on there, it melts it. It takes 25 minutes and the fat cells literally dissolve.
So what's the area that you'd be working on?
Yeah, it depends. Like if you pick up a mobile phone, most these powerful laser machines have 4 of these.
Right.
So where you stick this mobile phone is for me to be like all across my gut here.
Yeah.
But for somebody else, it might be 2 down each flank.
So it's a fairly substantial area that they're working on at once. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can get a fair bit done in one.
That times 4 is a standard treatment.
Okay. And then how many treatments would you be having to have to see the results in that area?
1.
Really?
1.
One treatment?
1 treatment. And they've tested this. Now, can you have more? Yes. But you only need 1 treatment. And it takes about 12 weeks for the fat to dissipate off the body. Mm-hmm. So they've actually tested this on people, and they've given them 1 treatment, and the results are remarkable.
Is this painful?
No, you can't
Not
feel
painful
it.
either.
No.
So it's not painful. You can do it in 1 session.
Yep.
You can cover a fairly big amount of ground, and it's relatively affordable.
Well, relatively affordable, yeah. And it loses about, depending on the study, if I go through them, they lose about 30% of the fat.
That's pretty
good. So it won't all go.
That's pretty good though. 30%
Oh yeah,
is a fair
lipo's about 90.
Yeah.
So, but we kind of, that's what we're up against. So,
yeah.
And, so this study's published like this. This one's called subcutaneous adipose tissue response to a non-invasive. So non-invasive. Mm-hmm. When it's non-invasive, it means that you can just have it anywhere, anytime. Like a blood test is a non-invasive test.
So you can walk in your lunch hour, have your laser therapy, go for walk there, have the laser therapy, walk back 30 minutes back to your office, and you're done.
That's pretty much it.
Wow.
So very, very safe. They've done all sorts of – the only side effect is you get raised triglycerides in the blood. Now, can you think of why that would be?
Let me think now.
Yeah.
Mobilisation of fat.
Exactly.
Possibly lipids in the body.
So, absolutely. So in this particular study, it said the treatment had an excellent safety profile and was well tolerated. So there was no complaints about it,
Okay.
And all it did was the hypothermic target. So people with hypothermic means heating up. The heat goes from 42 to 47 degrees.
Okay.
So that's not hot. No. That won't burn your skin.
Super hot. No.
Yeah. And I'm going to show you a picture, and unfortunately the listeners won't be able to see it, but I've got to show you this picture of the different wavelengths of light and how they penetrate. Now, if you can see that, you can see that the shorter wavelengths, like 200s, like the UV, just touches the skin.
Yeah.
But the 1060, the red light goes right into the fat layer.
Wow, that's amazing.
So quite incredible.
That's great, isn't it?
Now, with that treatment, you only need it's a bit more expensive, that one, because it's a bigger machine. Get that wavelength of light is tricky. It's about $20,000 machine.
Yeah.
So it's going to cost you more. There is another wavelength of light that can get in there is around the 600. You see that?
Yep.
Doesn't get as deep,
no,
but you can have them 2 to 3 days apart.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what about the one that goes the deepest? What would you be
one
looking at?
One every 12 weeks.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
And so you get in there and you can get zapped and walk out. There is no downtime. So it's quite incredible. And here's another study on at 1064 nanometers, so about the same. 39 patients, average 48.6 years of age, so a little bit younger than me. And they actually looked at their adipose tissue.
A bit younger than you. 60.
They're a bit 60. Who's 60?
Didn't you say 60?
No, they're 48.6.
48.6.
They are a bit younger than me.
A bit younger than you.
Yeah.
Aged yourself, Steve.
Yeah. So how much fat was reduced when they gave them this sap? And this was what they did was they said, okay, we're going to give you 3 treatments because it's a trial.
Okay.
And it's 8 weeks apart, so they didn't just do one, but they give 3 treatments. And adipose tissue was reduced by 31.9% based on ultrasound measurements. So there was no side effects, anything like that. The subject satisfaction was high with an average satisfaction of 7.8 out of 10. So people notice it.
Yeah.
If you lose 30% of your fat, so that's quite incredible. 77% of them recommend it, blah, 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 blah. And that was with 3 treatments. So that's a lot of treatments for that particular wavelength. But, of course, if you're doing a trial, you want the best results.
Yeah, of course.
So you probably don't need that sort of thing. So, it's really, really lots of data on this. And so by doing this, you're moving the fat quite dramatically, especially at 1060, which seems to be the wavelength. Now, there is a couple of more wavelengths that are higher up the scale, but they're vastly more expensive, and I haven't seen anyone using them, but they're 1980 and 2,300 nanometers, so way up there. And the problem with that is that, it becomes more expensive.
So if you do a 30-minute walk, so if you do much more intense exercise, could you see the results earlier than, say, that 12 weeks?
No, because it takes, when you melt the fat's got to work through the lymphatic system, because you've sort of destroyed it and it sits there.
Yeah.
So straight after treatment, you won't notice much difference at all.
Yeah.
And then it's got to work its way out. And they say it likes 8 to 12 weeks to work the fat out of the area and the debris and all the stuff that you've melted.
Could you not speed that up with some lymphatics, that sort of thing?
Yep, you could if you massage it intensely. And they use a massaging tool that's like a rolling pin with spikes on it, and they run that over the fatty area if you want that.
Yeah.
You don't need that because the laser's destroyed the fat anyway. It'll just dissipate. Yeah. So they just try and get you out of there as quick as possible and that sort of thing.
So if someone's looking at doing this, who would be the best, the best candidates for this sort of thing? Obviously somebody that's not quite obese, clearly.
No. Firstly, an obese person would not be you wouldn't go anywhere near this thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not for weight reduction. It's for getting rid of those last bits. So
spot reduction, really.
So it's sort of the last person you think that would need it. And frankly, you don't need this.
Yeah. You can do it with diet and lifestyle, obviously exercise, management, that type of thing. Obviously, we all talk about that all the time. But if you have that, sort of what I'm gathering is if you have that little bit, like you said, a little bit lower abdominal or perhaps maybe a little bit of cellulite for women on the end of the thighs, that could be that little bit that just gets
them off.
Yeah.
And what they did in this particular trial, another trial, was that they looked at women that have flank fat, so a little bit of fat on the sides of their legs and that sort of thing. And they gave flank fat. That's what they called it.
Is that right? It's like a horse. From my flanks.
What's the polite way of saddlebags, or is that the one we're not supposed to say?
Out of thighs, perhaps.
Out of thighs. Okay. Geez, you're boring. God, gee whiz. Okay. So what they did was they gave this laser and on both. They called it flanks.
Okay. Oh, no, let's go with what the study said.
And they got 11 women.
Yeah.
And they were treated for 20 minutes with a 1064 laser. And then they followed them for 12 weeks, examined routinely at 2 weeks, and they only gave them one treatment. A 2-week post-treatment ultrasound scan was used. They ultrasound them and all that sort of thing. The results, firstly, they had very low incidence of adverse effects, so that's obviously true. Noted a 2-week period. What they said, this was noted at 2-week time period and resolved by 12-week. Okay, so there was absolutely no side effects whatsoever reported. On a scale of 0 to 10, the mean pain score was 1.95. So it's like you could just feel it.
Yeah, right.
So there's absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah.
The subject satisfaction was excellent for all subjects, 100%.
Well,
so they said their results were excellent.
Yeah.
Which I like this, but they also measured it. And after 12 weeks, one treatment, the mean reduction in subcutaneous adipose tissue was 6 mils. Okay. So, it really disappeared.
Yeah.
But it also, and I didn't print out the photos, but they had some mottling, hail damage looking stuff. And that was all pretty much gone.
Okay. So that's a question I had. Yeah. So obviously abdominal, we're talking of people who are relatively lean, obviously. Yep. So say you're looking at that abdominal fat, that last bit.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be easier than, say, the, under your glutes or in your outer thighs, where that's a lot denser fat, where a lot of women do hold more fat, a bit more cellulite, that type of thing. So that might take a little bit longer.
Well, that took 12 weeks after one treatment.
Still one treatment?
One treatment. This is one treatment.
Wow. Okay.
So you're going to go in there for 20 minutes, get zapped, and you're going to probably notice not much difference. But after 12 weeks, 100% said they were satisfied with the results.
See, if I were to do this, I would include a lot of hacks, Steve, to try and speed that process up.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do my lymphatics and my lymphatic herbs, stems, all of that sort of all that sort of thing. I reckon if I could accelerate that time to result.
I know. You're absolutely right. That would be a good way to do it. I've picked the worst case, the trials where they just want to see what the laser did, because all the herbs and that will have an effect too. And they say, was it the herbs or the laser? And they don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's just my brain trying to hack things.
It is. I mean, quite remarkable. This is probably the most remarkable study, this one.
So, I mean, this this was originally what did you say, 2002?
2002 was when they elicited the response of where they got the electron microscope and saw what was happening to the fat cells.
Okay.
That's a 500 nanometer one. So that 530. So that's half 1060, and that's because there's a harmonic there, what they call. But so it does work at 530 as well. It doesn't work as well.
Yeah. So that's 20 years ago, roughly.
20 years ago, yeah.
So that's 20 years of research to show any sort of adverse effects maybe down the track.
Absolutely.
And they've sort of had come up with nothing. Obviously, it was not as powerful laser back then, but still.
But the thing is, the reason why we know that this is probably safe is because if you ever sat in front of a heater at home, you're going to receive 1060 nanometers of heat because it's heat.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But what they do with the heat is they concentrate it down to a higher amount and melt the fat.
Yeah.
You don't melt your fat when you sit in front of a heater.
So don't sit on a heater anymore for 10 minutes.
And because it's only one wavelength, there's no other, UV damage or nothing like that. There's no other wavelength there. It's just the heating part.
Yeah.
So quite remarkable.
And so long-term effects, obviously they've got 20 years of studies for the original laser.
Yeah, or plus because, heaters and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, so, but they've got 20 years of research.
So because obviously liposuction, there can be issues. You get your liposuction and we know sometimes we've seen the effects that can happen down the track where you start to get weird fat sort of fatty deposits and things in weird areas, and that can happen a little bit later. Yeah. So if you hear long-term effects, there's nothing so far that they've noticed. No.
Because
so fat isn't coming back in odd. I mean, they've melted it away, obviously, but
they're melting it away.
Back.
Will it come back if you eat shit?
I mean, obviously, lifestyle is in play, but if you're maintaining the healthy lifestyle and balance when you had when you had this done, then it's all still stays away.
Good. Well, there you go. It's all good. Another study here. This is a really good one. 1060, one treatment. This is for fat reduction of the abdomen, so this would be sort of me. I better read this one. Single arm, two-center study, enrolled 30 patients. Patient received a 25-minute 1060, and that's a lot for this.
Minutes,
25 minutes. It's a long time for this treatment. And then they looked at the study. They were blinded evaluators with before and after photos of each group. And they did a patient satisfaction questionnaire, was completed by each patient. And the reason why they're doing that in this is because they measure the fat, but also how do you think it is? Because this treatment is individual. So, absolutely incredible. So what they found was, of course, that even after the treatment, there was a massive reduction in all adipose tissue of 8.55% just after one treatment.
Wow, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Now, imagine if you rocked up again in 3 months.
Yeah.
You get another 8% off.
Yeah.
And then you rocked up again in,
12 months you could have for its 32% reduction, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Theoretically.
And what they found was the p-value for changes in adipose tissue was 0.0001. And the blinded evaluators correctly identified the pre and post treatments. Satisfaction was high, so really, really good. And basically the study said these results indicate that a single treatment with 1060 diode is safe, effective in reducing unwanted fat in the abdomen as objectively measured employing ultrasound. So it well tolerated amongst all patients with minimal discomfort reported and a high patient satisfaction, which is kind of what you want. So it really is a possible treatment for people who just want to get rid of that last bit.
Yeah, spot reduction. So I have a question then. So so there was someone in the office that talked about their partner got these one from quite a cheap one, but it was something that sat on their head. Was it like goggles or something?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah. So what's that doing?
Okay, what that's doing, that's stimulating.
Because these are everywhere. Sorry, Steve, to cut you off. These are everywhere at the moment.
Yeah.
So people are going to run out and go, hey, I can get one of these from the local department store and it's really cheap.
Yeah.
Is that going to have the same effect?
Well, why? Because remember the wavelength is dependent on how deep it goes. So what those ones do is they stimulate the dermis.
Yeah.
And the dermis stimulates collagen production. So it helps with collagen production.
So that's more for skin.
Yeah,
skin appearance
for
and
skin.
things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so not so much fat loss.
No, the longer wavelengths get deeper.
Okay.
And
so the person that got it for fat loss, they didn't know what they were getting it for.
And they put it on their face.
They'll have to watch this and realise that.
Why do they want fat loss on their face?
Well, that's what I was asking. What are they for?
They got fat cheeks like you.
No, like me. I don't use them, apparently. Maybe I could donate a bit of mine. Apparently the fat from my cheeks. No, because everyone's going out and buying these.
Yeah.
And so we had a discussion, are these the same type of thing? So they're really not. They're just working on their skin.
Yeah, and you can get lasers for hair growth and they work.
Yeah, well, we talked about that in our hair loss.
Yeah. But no, lasers are great. They really do work. They're even putting lasers on the end of liposuction now because they're much more potent. But what they do is when you shove the cannula into you have to run it back and forth. Have you seen it?
I don't know how anyone can do that to their body.
They're now putting lasers on the end of that, so it melts the fat, so it sucks it up easier.
Oh, okay.
Not my cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea.
But again, for the average pundit who's got that bit of fat, whatever, it's tempting.
Yeah.
It's
look, and everyone looks for the easy way.
Yeah.
And the least amount of work possible.
Yeah.
So with this one here, this is kind of a different population. Yeah. This is more your people that are quite lean, that don't have a lot to lose. They might maybe, like you said, just have a few areas that really struggle to reduce the fat despite their best efforts with exercise, nutrition, all of that sort of thing.
That's right. It's a bit now, as I said, there's other results for lower frequency lasers or high frequency lasers like 600s. That's fine. But I mean, it really is the 1060, and again, we've got another study here, 1060, again for reduction of fat in the abdomen. So, and again, I'll just read the conclusion. Okay. So we can, the conclusion: 1060 laser-based laser treatment can consistently reduce the fat contour of the abdomen with an excellent safety profile on all skin types. The study met all three of its defined endpoint successes, which was physical reduction of the thickness of the circumference gone. The evaluators picked it the after the photos, and also the person subjectively loved the treatment.
Okay.
So absolutely, quite remarkable.
And pretty easily accessible, like it's everywhere. I've never seen them, but then I don't really go to shopping centres,
they're
to be
sort
honest.
of like, you see that black box in the corner?
Yeah.
For those who don't know what we're looking at, it's something about 1 metre high, and it's got 4 big tubes, things hanging out of it.
Oh, there we go. We've got a picture.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's different ones there, yeah.
Oh, look at that. So one's like a bed.
Yeah, and you put it beside the bed.
Okay, Matt's just showing us pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And you zap them. And
we've got a belt.
You got a belt one. Belt ones are the ones with the mobile phone one where they stick them to you.
Look at that. So sorry, everybody, we're just looking at pictures off camera.
Yeah, it was.
There is a quite significant. Look at that one. It's like a blanket that's covering the. So that want to be a good one. So the blanket that's covering, you get a whole lot done in one hit, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you may reduce the potency. To get a potent labour, you want to focus it. Yeah. And so, and these are potent.
So again, there's no shortcuts with this either. You can't just get a big blanket and just cover yourself.
Nah, it doesn't work. I mean, you have to get very potent lasers and the high energy to melt the fat. And, and again, it doesn't touch the skin. It goes through the skin. And you won't feel it. It's safe and that sort of thing.
So these ones there, they wouldn't really work that well. So don't run out and get the blankets that just cover you.
No, because a blanket, you've got to remember that there's like, you can only have a very small area because you've got to have a lot of power. Lasers have to work on that. Otherwise, you just get putting light on your skin, which sort of does nothing.
Oh, it has benefits, but not for weight.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to get to that layer of the skin. It has to be the right frequency, which is the 1060 or 1064. And these are the ones that are always the ones that are tested. But as you could see by the studies, the before and after photos are pretty good. There you go. You put something. This is why the laser works. You can see there that, and I'm showing Nicole a graph of things that are absorbed by the skin, the dermis, low absorption of the dermis, but high absorption of fat. So this is the 1060 is where you want to be because it doesn't touch the skin, but affects the fat layer.
Wow.
And that's how they put little belts like that on you.
Oh, yeah, they've got belts on their abdomens.
Yeah, it's like little belts with 4 mobile phone holders, and the lasers go there.
Yeah.
So you zap that area, and then about 12 weeks later, it just slowly dissipates over 12 weeks.
Yeah. And so do you have any idea of the cost of this sort of thing?
Yeah, I had a look at treatments. For these lasers, it's about $400 a treatment.
Okay, well, that's relatively affordable for a lot of people.
Yeah, one I found, I picked one on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And, it works really well.
I mean, people will spend on diet pills and
Oh, God.
fat loss injections. Then
well, we did a podcast about a year ago on different types, and lasers, in my opinion, was the best one. Cavitation was another one, which is cheaper.
Is that the fat freezing?
No, fat freezing is cryolipus.
Okay, that was
was number
hilarious,
3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's excruciatingly painful apparently.
What's that?
That's like a laser thing.
Yeah.
But it's
doing the same thing with from an opposite angle. It's freezing it to break it all up. Yeah. Whereas this is just melting it to break it all up. So
melting it to about 45 degrees.
Okay, so not even.
It's obviously not going to burn your skin.
Yeah.
45 degrees. A hot coffee is about 80 or 60 degrees.
Yeah.
A bath would be 60, 50. So you're not going to burn anything except you're going to melt the fat.
There you go.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
And it's kind of like, and it's for those people who just want to lose a bit. It's not for the lazy person going, I don't need to exercise.
Yeah.
In these studies, they pick people who don't exercise. So I'm not a fan of that.
No, that's what I think that we need to really reiterate that diet and exercise first.
Always.
And then if you have any problems with areas that you really can't get it off no matter what you do, then maybe this is an option for those people possibly.
Look, it's that option. I like it between doing nothing and lipo.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got these bits, or a lot of people have these bits, and you want to get rid of these bits, and you don't want to do lipo.
Yeah.
Then this is a very good opportunity. It's very safe. It's non-invasive. It can be done at a shopping centre place. I looked at ones in my suburb. There's 3.
Really?
In my suburb alone.
I've never seen one. But then, you know what? It's like a red car. If you aren't looking for a red car, you won't see one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just an option.
There you go.
And I think a good one.
Yeah, well, look, there doesn't sound like there's too many negatives, or if any really negatives. I mean, I guess the biggest negative would be cost for some people.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the biggest negative. But yeah, other than that, like I said, if I tried it, I'd definitely hack it somehow to speed the process up.
Well, you would hack it. You instead of, you might do it at, say, on a day off on a Saturday morning. You've eaten breakfast, you may do it at 3 PM, then go for an hour or 2 swim for you, who's a great swimmer, and you'd just be completely obliterating your body and getting rid of all the excess fat. So that's the good thing. But, this is an option. I mean, you go about cost, it costs 5% what liposuction costs.
Well, I think liposuction, I don't think anyone could pay thousands to have someone stick a big steel rod in them and start
But it's
dragging.
Everywhere. It's very
Is it still
popular.
really popular?
Really popular.
Is it?
Look, they're everywhere. I looked around. And, my father-in-law used to do it. And he just said he just got it's just tiring because you're in a big suit, like a spacesuit, and you're doing this, which is a very jerky motion all day.
And then they've just got to be bruised. Like, it's got to be the most painful thing ever. I see a lot of clients, but I don't see really much of a population that would do this, because most people I see try to be very healthy, lifestyle factors, all that sort of stuff. So I don't really see many clients that have had it. So I don't know how proliferative it is, but obviously it sounds like it's quite common.
People make livings out of it. There's cosmetic doctors everywhere making livings.
Well, that
out.
I do know. Yeah, they charge.
Look, it's just people get sick of this. Whatever fat they hate, and it ends up. But lipo is a step too far. But this is 5% the cost of lipo. So when you have those, remember those guys had 3 treatments and lost, a lot. Then that's $1,200. That's 15% of the cost of an average lipo, which is about $10,000. You can remember, it is very painful too. The drugs they give you for lipo is midazolam, which is a very powerful sedative, and fentanyl. And everyone's heard of fentanyl. It's a super painful painkiller.
Yeah,
so
I just don't.
It is a procedure.
Look, each to their own, and people have their reasons for doing it. I couldn't put myself through that pain, but
no, it's tempting.
But then maybe they think that the pain of that is less than the pain of exercising every day, perhaps.
But no, this and lipo shouldn't be used without.
Instead of, it should be as a complementary to the lifestyle.
You've exercised your diet. You've got this bit left over.
So this, I can see this might be beneficial for maybe the fitness industry fitness comps, that sort of thing. Maybe people are really struggling to get that. They've just got one little, tiny little bit of fat somewhere that they're struggling, can't get off. They're going on stage. This could be a really good option, and perhaps even this could maybe be fairly common even in the industry. maybe, like, we don't know, like, we could, if anyone out there and that maybe is using it pre-comp to try and get rid of that last little bit that they can't get off.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the ultimate spot fat loss agent.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't mention any names, but I know someone who competes who uses cavitation, which is another form, which is a 40 hertz thing that vibrates, basically shakes the fat cells loose and the fat comes out. That's what it does. It's just a 40 hertz, which is like very low frequency.
Yeah.
And so it's a sound thing. I know someone who used that. So this would be great for someone. And also, let's say you were training someone in the olden days and they had a bit that they couldn't get rid of. They just wanted to get rid of it. They hated it.
Yeah.
They said, I'm going to get lipo. This would be a great thing for them.
It would be good. Because, I mean, we used to have the subcut.
I know.
We used to have the subcut. So it's sort of similar to what the subcut used to do, but yes.
Subcut is a product we don't have anymore.
We don't have it anymore. I haven't had it for years.
But what it used to do was move subcutaneous fat, where you get the subcut from it. It just mobilised it.
Yeah.
It had caffeine and a few other goodies in it that would make fat cells move and target their beta-adrenergic receptors. So absolutely. So, I mean, it's great for competition. It's great for just getting rid of that last bit. Great for summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? What would you give that out of 5?
That's a hard question because anything medically, any sort of intervention, I'm not a massive fan of. But
it's like putting a light on you, though. So
I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I was hoping for a 3.
Oh, a 3. No, I think only from what you've presented in your case, Steve. So I mean, if there's another 5 years down the track and these people start coming back with these strange growths and tumours and I don't know, all these sorts of things, then we don't know. But look, based purely on what you've said today, I probably would give it a 4.5 out of 5.
There's nothing in front of me that's a brochure. They're all medical studies.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to keep it sort of kind of factual. I like it. I like the idea of it.
The idea of it sounds great. Like I said, that last little bit, if you're really struggling with it.
Yeah.
When I was in the gym PTing, you'd get girls and they say, I just can't get up there. They were very lean. I just can't get rid of this cellulite, this little bit of cellulite.
Yeah.
No matter what I do, that sort of thing. So, I mean, for someone like that, maybe a little bit on the hips or on the lower back, something for maybe men that can't move it, I guess there's definitely benefits.
Absolutely. What if you're a man?
Sounds like an infographic, doesn't it? Not infographic, an infomercial.
Look, let's disclose. We got nothing. We don't sell lasers here, or we got nothing to.
I think we decided to do this because you thought it was very interesting, and I was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And also the silly season, coming out of the silly season, you know, you might be looking more the new New Year's resolutions. I'm going to get this last little bit of weight off, that sort of thing. So maybe there's another tool that you can utilise if you struggle with that last little bit.
I might want to look hot in the bikini.
Well, that's true. You might in your mankini, Steve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, look, it's good. So look, it's something to consider.
Kind of interesting. Like I said, I really knew nothing about it at the beginning of the episode. So
it certainly works.
There you go.
All right. Well,
if anyone's done it, and they want to leave us a comment,
absolutely,
let us know how they went with it because I'd be really curious to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you all next week. We've got to run out of time, so we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye.